Alright, so let's talk about these engineering notebooks that hopefully you now have. There's a couple of things that we want to go over about them, just so that you can use them to their full potential, and it's not just pieces of paper within a book, something more than that. So the first thing, your engineering notebook has a cover, and on that cover I'm going to ask that you put your name, the course, which is Design and Modeling, or DM for short, as well as your class period, so either 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th, or 8th period. And I would write that in the front of your notebook with a permanent marker. Make sure that you mark it clearly so that it can be read or recognized. Otherwise, if it can't be recognized or legible, then you can't claim it. So make sure that your name is fully legible on the front with the course and the class period. So as an example, I just gave you Mr. Cowsbeak would be mine. I would have Design and Modeling, 2nd period. That's a classic example. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about with your engineering notebooks is your table of contents. Now luckily we don't have to create these. These are already created for you in these Project Lead the Way engineering design notebooks. So the table of contents is already in there. All you have to do is enter the content. So the table of contents is kind of built as you go. And the better that you keep up with it as you go, the more helpful it is when you're trying to look back through things that you've done previously. A couple of things. It's created as you go. You're also going to create a header for a new unit. So if we start a new lesson or a new unit, and most of the time I'll try and give you a reminder when to create a new part in your table of contents, but we're going to create new headers for these new units. And you'll see what that looks like when we get to it. Also, you want to list each activity and which page or pages that it's on. So let's look at an example here. If we have our table of contents, so the first unit that we do in this course is the Design and Modeling, or DM, course introduction. That's our first unit that we talk about, just an introduction. And the first activity I believe that you do is a safety activity. And so, for example, that might be just page 1, or if you did a lot of note-taking and you wrote down a lot of rules, drew some sketches, and it took page 1 through 3, awesome, that's great. Then your What is Engineering would probably go from page 3, or it would start on page 4. So you're creating this table of contents as you're creating content. So it's not just something you can create right off the bat. You're building it as you go. As you go to specific pages of your engineering notebook, it's going to kind of look like something like this. You're going to have the page number here up at the top, and then what the notes should look like is you're probably, for any particular lesson, going to have a warm-up. Most of the time our warm-ups have questions that you need to answer, or a question, or something that you need to write. If you need to take any notes from the lesson, if there's any kind of activity that you need to write or draw or sketch something, and then most times there's a conclusion question or conclusion questions that you need to answer. And so these can each be headers under which you write whatever the content is. So for instance, you would have like warm-up, and then you would write whatever the warm-up is, question 1, write the answer to it, and then your lesson notes, and then whatever content underneath that. So just a basic structure for your notebook so that it can be kept organized. And just a final reminder for these notebooks, make sure that they are neat, make sure that they're accurate, legible, and thorough. When you get to the high school level, they're probably going to be a little bit more of sticklers about signing things and having someone witness your work. So make sure that you're getting into the routine of doing what we're doing here at the middle school level to make it easier when you go to the high school level. So there you go, just some basics of notebooks.